This is Red Hot Reds Live. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Strauss.
All right, welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast presented by Ohio Sports Talk. It is Sunday at 8 p.m.-ish, and that means we are Red Hot Reds live. And you know what, Ricky? We had a pretty nice Sunday last Sunday. Doug came on. You were producer in the background pulling all the strings, and they had that 24-2 win. I don't know. I don't mind 8-1 either. Just personally, but how has your week been?
It's been good, especially with some Reds wins. Wins equals wins, some might say. Might not have been as good yesterday, but it's been a good week. I'll take it.
Yeah, you can't expect Austin Wins to hit 400 for the season. I don't think his name is Austin Williams or Ted Wins. You know what I mean? So it's
Austin Rose.
Yeah, exactly. We expected a little bit of some time, but hopefully that's not the last time we see him. We'll talk about that situation coming up in a little bit. Before we get that, welcome to the show. Thank you for anyone who's tuning in for the first time or you tune in again. Really appreciate it. We're a Reds podcast that is going to cover the Reds for the 2025 season with some interviews, and we go live every Sunday to recap the week, to tell you what's been going on, who's hot, who's not, who's how the minor league system's doing as well. Please follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Ohio Sports Talk as well. Follow all their channels. Also, we're a podcast, so follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Ricky for pulling all the strings yet again. He's the master of all the technical work that we have here.
Kind of.
Yeah. And he's got a really nice mic now that he's showing off, which it's been really sweet audio that I've been, praising him for this week. We also have a sponsor, and it is W Energy. And if you can see here, I got my W Energy container and some mix this week from the mail. And W Energy, go to w.gg to get the only sugar-free focused energy drink out there. Use promo code Red Hot10 to get 10% off at checkout. There you go, Red Hot 10% off at checkout. Helps us, helps them. This stuff I had it was called Beach and Peach, and it's delicious. The energy, I can't say too much about it. I'm a guy that's like really fixed on energy drinks. I don't drink much coffee, so this is kind of like a smoother drink than how the energy drinks could be kind of acidic and bubbly and stuff like that. This is a lot smoother with the powder and water mix. So I feel like I'm drinking a lot more water now just by using this container as opposed to drinking a bunch of energy drinks, which not really technically water, but it's some sort of hydration. But yeah, shout out to Dubby. Thanks for their sponsorship of this show. And this week, Ricky, I think Doug and I had predicted that. Well, Doug's kind of that fan where if you don't win 5 out of 6 games or you don't sweep everybody, then he's going to be upset. And I don't know if he's like, I asked him, I think last show, if he's ever watched Reds baseball, where it goes from they score 24 runs one game, and then the next game against the Miami Marlins, they barely eke out any hits, any runs. I think they didn't score to the 8th inning. But anyway, what we ended up predicting was 2 out of 3 would have been, I think, reasonable. It ends up being that way because they were 4-2, but they kind of dropped the first series against the Marlins in unpredictable but kind of predictable fashion, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? If you've ever seen the Reds, they are consistently inconsistent. And I want to say, what is it? Max Meyer set like a Miami Marlin, or was one like tied for the Miami Marlins record of like strikeouts in an outing of 14 or 16 or something like that.
Yeah, he looked like Jose Fernandez out there. It was he was good. He was lights out. All right, Jose Fernandez.
Yeah. They had some good pitching down there in Miami. We're not a Miami show, but we've had.
We always turn into one somehow.
Well, they can use all the love they can get sometimes. But they took 2 out of 3 from the Reds, which a lot of people probably were ready to, DFA everybody at that point. But then, luckily the Rockies exist and the Pirates exist for the Reds to beat up on, and they swept the Rockies today. And today's win was, I think, what a lot of people wish the whole series went. It wasn't that as easy of a series. They made it interesting, to say the least. And I don't know, getting 2 out of 3 or losing 2 out of 3 to Miami is not ideal, but I don't know. What were some takeaways from the week?
Well, I talked about it on the Chatterbox pregame show on Friday. Was Francona being more consistent in his lineups, which is funny to say because he's been consistent all year long playing the same people, but consistent in picking players that are consistent now. He's Candelario played today, but not playing him. It says a lot because he's not playing by, contract money, and he's playing by who's actually performing.
Yeah. Candelario's definitely going to be a talking point later in the show with trying to figure out where he's going to fit in, if he fits in. I mean, adding potentially Stevenson down the road may take at bats away from him, and rightly so, right? Like, it's a whole thing, like the accountability factor. And we've kind of, in our last show where we broke down the grades of the Reds so far in their first month, their first 25 games, there are some guys that have gotten some long rope, and Candelario kind of was one of those guys. And maybe his time is up. Maybe he needs to sit. Maybe he needs to figure out some things. Maybe it is a pinch hit a little bit more to just get some at bats here and there. But I don't know. It's interesting. We're coming out of a week that was 4-2, but there's probably still more room for improvement. At least hitting wise, I think they definitely have come alive with the addition of Austin Hayes into the lineup, and Noelvi Marte. Like, I mean, golly, they're hitting the cover off the ball. You talk about hitting the ball. Like, Marte's been smacking it, and like Jason pointed out, like going to Colorado can be a get right trip sometimes, right? You might also give up 10 runs as well. Any given Rocky, or what do they call Coors Field? Any given Coors Field experience, you may give up 10, but I don't know, man. I think this coming week might be a real litmus test into exactly who the Reds may be. It's good to be above 500. It's good to beat up on some of these teams. I mean, gosh, the Rockies have 4 wins.
Yeah, the Rockies' record's the same as the same game parlay on FanDuel for the Reds. So that says a lot. Yeah,
you did point that out, and we know how terrible that's been. And absolutely, Hayes has been a steal. $5 million for 1 year. And actually, this like we
he
talked
has a
about,
club option, a mutual option, right? And I just don't see him getting picked up. There's no way if he puts up 20, 25 home runs, possibly 30, there's no way they keep him.
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, I don't know, like, if his agent is probably not picking up any phone calls until there's big offers anywhere. So
we need to look into who his agent is, because that'll say a lot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not a Boris client, but I could be wrong. But anyway, Hayes has been great. Noelvi Marte has been great. Some pitching performances have been great this week. New dad Lodolo had a great outing today, and that was good to see, especially on a Sunday. Hey, get this, Ricky. The Reds might be good on Sundays. I don't know if you know this, but I think they're 3-0 the last 3, so they are completely unpredictable, because we've been throwing out these stats about how they've been terrible on getaway days and Sundays, but now they can't lose. I don't know. Maybe it's the matchups. You know what I mean? They have the National.
Francona?
Maybe we're figuring out. I will say it is weird. I think Wynn started the first game of the Rockies series, and Trevino took game 2 and 3. And usually the baseball logic is that Wins would take the third game, right? But I think Wins is kind of proven that he can be in the lineup whenever they need him. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see what they do with Austin Wins going forward, and how they're going to incorporate him into the lineup. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, what are some other unpredictable things that kind of jumped out at you this week?
One was Hunter Green not looking, terrific, but scratching it out. The Reds still winning, not blowing the game. The Coors logic is you got to score more than the opponent quickly because no matter how bad the Rockies are, they could still put up runs. I mean, I think you put a high school team on that field, they're gonna make it competitive.
I mean, I will say this: there are some pretty legit players on the Rockies. That Beck guy seems pretty legit. I know they got a new pitcher. I think we missed them this time, Hollander or something like that. It was pretty legit. So there may be a makings of a team. I think we're talking to your buddy Dak.
Dak will be on Wednesday. We might go live for that one just to make it a little.
He's
easier.
A Colorado guy. He can talk about the Rockies a little bit more in depth. And figure out what maybe there's something else that's out there that we're missing. But the unpredictable thing that I found this week was how the Reds kind of went from going off on a high to just kind of coming out flat against Miami. I guess it shouldn't surprise me, but it kind of feels like, I don't know. I don't want to predict necessarily bad things for the Cardinal series, but if we do 2-2, like if it's a split, I'm not going to be upset. Like you want 3 out of 4. Definitely, if you sweep the Cardinals, you kind of put them out of their misery early on in the season. And Carrie's saying you got to take 3. I hope so.
We'll take it.
I'll take 2 out of 2. And I don't know. I guess the Nationals also kind of scare me because there's always times when the Nationals, like this happened in 2023. It was like I went to a game in August of 2023. The Reds were still like semi-contention. And then they get swept by the Nationals at home. And I'm like,
I think I was at that game you were at, oddly enough.
It was
Andrew Abbott was pitching and it wasn't great.
Yeah, it was rough because they just kind of, the Nationals have some talent. I don't know.
Nationals are sneaky hot. They're 13-15. So they're not terrible.
They're always around that though. They're like in the kind of I don't know if we can really compare rosters or kind of the makeup of the club, but they're always kind of in that 75 to 80 win territory. But they sometimes have some really rocky starts. Anyway, the Nationals just kind of scare me.
They got some good prospects right now too.
Well, guys that are like producing at this level, Abrams, Wood, like they can rake.
Who's the LSU guy they got?
Think about that later. I can't. I haven't been watching too much Nats baseball. I've just seen them when they play against the Reds, and for some reason the Reds kind of I don't know. Hopefully not. You know what I mean?
Dylan Cruz.
Oh yeah. He's been doing great. I remember now. But anyway, the Reds kind of they're coming off this high. They're at 4-game winning streak. Rest in peace, Walt Jocketty. He was a GM for both, I think, the Cardinals and the Reds. Yep. So there might be some sort of ceremony or some sort of moment of silence for him on Monday is my guess. I don't think they've confirmed it or anything yet, but they probably will, seeing that, he just passed away this weekend. And he was the organizer or the orchestrator of the mid-2010s Reds with Dusty Baker and all that. So he's kind of like, been a big figure for both of these clubs. And I wouldn't be surprised if, both these franchises are going to try to win one for him. So that's why I'm not too. If they win 3 out of 4, I'll be happy. They go 2-2. I'll take it because it's in division. Sometimes division opponents bring the best out of you or the worst out of you if it's the Brewers. But I like to think that the Reds are going to come out with a 4-3 record this week to basically keep themselves above 500 and build onto it as we go into May. What are your thoughts going forward?
Yeah, I completely agree. And like what Carrie said, let the division beat the Brewers while we chase the Cubs. I like that because Lord knows that we cannot beat the Brewers to save our lives. So yeah, I'll take it. If we can beat the Cardinals 2 out of 2 at least, and then go into the weekend looking at 500 again, maybe if we can stay above 500 going into the weekend. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. And that, I guess, maybe why I'm kind of concerned about the Cardinals is because they're hot against the Brewers. They won that series against the Brewers and walked them off a couple times, I think. So that's, they're coming into Great American Ballpark probably feeling pretty confident. They lost today. I think the Brewers won 7-1 today, but it was a getaway game. And I think that the Cardinals I don't know if they have a great clubhouse, a great lineup. I think they're can pose some problems, but I don't know. I hopefully the Reds can get it done. Hopefully they're going to they're gonna beat up on the Cardinals and, like I said, put them out of their misery and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. It's different. One thing that has been also unpredictable is some of our guys, some of our hitters in this lineup, and
Yeah.
one of those guys has been Spencer Steer, and he has. I don't know. We lamented about like him getting a long rope, and the same thing kind of went for Jake Fraley with how long he was out there before he started to turn around. I guess the question, and it says it right there, point blank, Ricky, is Spencer Steer back?
I hope so. I genuinely hope so. He his last 7 games, he's batting exactly 300. He's got 6 strikeouts and 4 walks. Sounds
Yeah.
like it. I'd hope so. He's still batting a $188. I'd like to get that up above 200 to say for sure. But yeah. What do you think? Do you think is Spencer Steer back? I he had that crush that home run the other night. That was solid. That looked like vintage Steer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Colorado get well trip for the Reds, I think, extended to Spencer Steer as well. Yeah, I guess we have to see this week just to be completely sure, because you're right. He's still in a big hole, and he's definitely got something going on, because like we talked about in the grades episode on Jim Day's podcast, he said that he ran into a wall in June 2024 and hasn't really been right since.
Right.
So we're talking about like nearly 10 months, 11 months of like basically dealing with this. In the off season as well, I'm guessing, because you would think like in the off season maybe we would have taken care of it, surgery if it was possible, or rehab or whatever it was. But if it's still plaguing him today, I'd like to hope that he is progressing. He's going forward. You know what I mean? There's no more going to be like setbacks or issues where his throwing program is going to be retooled again. So I don't know. I don't like him at first base, and we've talked about that too. Obviously, I don't think they trust him to be in the outfield yet. So if he's kind of the DH, kind of the guy that comes in and plays first base occasionally, okay, I'm good with that. And his numbers have been trending up, and they've been winning games, so it's not the biggest thing. If they had if they've lost both these series this week and Steer wasn't looking well, yeah, there's got to be talks about what we're doing here with Spencer Steer. Luckily, we're not in that world right now. We're in the world where he's looking more like himself and possibly finding a place in the lineup, But I don't know. I'd hate to do a thing to him where it's just like we're just trotting him out there because we have to, like the Will Benson of 2024 situation. I don't think that's it though. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're benching Candelario. A lot of people in the chat are talking about Stevenson. Stevenson's on his way back, and we'll talk about him in a little bit and his situation. So I don't know. He seems to be a very proud baseball guy, because he doesn't want to give up at bats. He wants to go out there. He's one of those guys that wants to grind. He's never been one of those guys that's showy or flashy or talks a lot. So I think he's just a baseball guy that wants to play. You have to basically, drag him out by you have to get him out of the lineup by pulling him out of there physically. It seems like that's the only way to get Spencer Steer out of the lineup. Any other thoughts about him?
Yeah, I was looking at his splits from last year. You said he ran into the wall in June.
Yeah.
So in July he hit 213, in August he hit 240, in September he hit 185. So it kind of lines up.
Yeah, for sure. And that's extended into basically this season. For better or for worse, he's picked it up of late. So maybe he's getting out of it. I don't know. I hate to, set him back. Like I kind of didn't want to jinx him, but I kind of wanted to, somewhat similar to the CES situation last year, because just had to keep putting him out there, even though he got hit in the wrist. He ended up having wrist surgery. I really hope that's not what ends up happening. But so far, he seems to be coming out of that rut. This week, I think will be telling, because Cardinals and Nats will be, decent opponents, but they're not going to be playing against the 4-win Rockies this week. That's for sure. So, yeah, but I don't know. Talking about Stevenson and his situation, there was an update by Jim Day about his call-up potential. He had played Louisville this week, but Louisville had like 3 rainouts. They ended up playing a doubleheader on Saturday, but they only play like 4 out of the 6 games of the series that they usually do against their opponents down there in Louisville. So I think it was either by Stevenson's request or by the club's request that he said he wanted to stay down there at AAA to get some more at bats. He actually is going to show up in our later segment of 3 Up, 3 Down. Not having the greatest week. He hit a home run today, but I think he's still working his way back. The oblique injury can't be easy. Swinging a bat. I don't see him playing catcher right away. I think we've talked about this a little bit. Yeah, there are definitely some hard decisions in terms of who's going up, who's going down. Blake Dunn, I think, has options. So there's possibility that Blake Dunn might be the odd man out. Candelario and Wins out of options because they're veterans. Espinal, I'm not sure about his situation, but I think he's proven himself to be indispensable. You like to call him Tito's guy, but he's got great defense and he's been hitting timely. So I can't see him, and he's flexible, right? Like they even put him in the outfield if they need to, but I don't see that being the case. I think it's some sort of combination of possibly Dunn or somebody else. I don't know. What are your thoughts about Stevenson's situation at the moment?
Yeah, I like I like the idea of having him DH every day over Steer. But if Steer's going to stay hot, maybe you just keep him at first and then have Stevenson DH, and then you still keep the 2 catchers. Because I'm not getting rid of Wins if he's going to keep producing. And Trevino, he's doing well also, so I can't get rid of that. But you got to keep Stevenson up there. You can't not have him on the lineup. I guess if you were going to send anybody down, I guess Dunn, but then you're losing an outfielder unless you have Lux, Hayes, Friedel, and Fraley. But it's tough because you don't want to cut anybody because like you said, Wins is out of options. I guess if you're going to make any drastic change, you DFA Candelario, but then you're eating like $30 million. And that's just not what we do.
No.
People were up in arms about us cutting Will Myers back in 2023, and we owed him like 8. So I don't know if you can possibly find a trade partner, if you can get some kind of streak going and just trade him for cash or something. I don't know, but you got to put Stevenson in the lineup, and you got to send somebody down to replace him.
Yeah, that isn't going to be the case on Monday, I don't think. I think we'll have some time to see it. Maybe there's a guy that goes on the IL this week that we don't see. You know what I mean? Jabot's IL stint, I didn't see that coming. He didn't look great in his outing. I think it was Saturday night or Friday night. Can't exactly remember, but he's on the IL, so that got Lyon Richardson up, company man Lyon Richardson. And the one stat that I think I heard on Saturday listening to the radio, the Cowboy was talking about, was that the Reds catching Trevino and Wins is the second most productive, catching unit behind the Cubs. And we were trying to figure that out. Yeah, like we thought maybe the Yankees with that guy Wells out there, but no, the Cubs have been hitting the snot out of the ball as a catching unit. But we're right there, right behind them. So hopefully we can keep that production up at least a little bit because they're definitely been talk about unpredictable Reds. Like the best hitters have been Jose Trevino and Austin Wins of late, and that's you get it where you can get it, right? Like you can't really be picky when you're a Reds fan. You're just trying to get wins on the board. But I don't know. I think that if they DFA Wins, I think there'd be a lot of people that are not too happy about that unless something that happens. That really shows that he's coming to the end of his magical run. Trevino's been solid. Stevenson probably, I like that idea. Him at first, he seems to be a guy that when he was rehabbing in 2023, I think he played 38 games at first to try to get back into his playing shape or whatever that. I forget the injury was in 23, but he's capable of playing there.
Collarbone, I think, or somewhere in the shoulder. He got hit by a ball.
So yeah, so like just like the oblique is not necessarily going to be easy on rotating and throwing that ball or swinging the bat.
Yeah.
Same difference in terms of like I think he should be looked at the very least to play first base every so often. I don't know how, depending on how, I guess how he hits, but that should be the option. Candelario should be a guy that's not. It should be coming off the bench at worst at this point in the season. So
yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts of Stevenson, Trevino, or Wins?
No, I just think that obviously he needs to be in the lineup.
Yeah, Wins equals wins. This is an Austin Wins show.
Yeah, we're pro Wins. We're pro Austin show.
Yep, Austin Hendrick, Austin Wins. Anybody name Austin? Anybody in the organization name Austin? We're pro them. So we'll see if we got any more prospects coming away named Austin.
Isn't there an Austin Callahan in there somewhere?
Yeah, is it like Tyler's brother?
There's two Callahans, right?
Is it spelled the same way? The Callahan?
I don't think they're related, but I think they have the same last name.
Well, okay. If there is,
I'm pretty sure it's an Austin Callahan. I might be wrong.
Yeah, pro Austin. We'll take it.
Yeah.
But yeah, talking about some guys that not necessarily living up to their billing, kind of like Candelario hasn't. Of late, we've got Matt McLain that has been struggling, to say the least. So much that a lot of people on the internet are not happy about it. I would think the people on Reds Facebook, Reds Twitter would be happy that we didn't sign him to a contract extension because of how much he'd been struggling. I guess you can't win if you're the Reds organization in terms of you sign a guy, you don't sign a guy. But you know what I mean? Like I guess that's just the nature of fandom. You got to find something to be mad about. So, but anyway, Mr. McLain has not necessarily had the best week the last couple weeks. I think this week I got the stats here. He's hit 1 for 21. 11 strikeouts, and he's got his batting average down to 157. And his fielding hasn't been great either. I don't know if there's a injury possibly here, or he's pressing, or I don't know. What is your read on the situation, Ricky?
I think he's pressing. I think he's, he started the season out hot, and the contract rumors were speculating, and he rumored that he turned it down. I also saw where that was also fake. But if it was true, he's probably like, this is my second season. I got something to prove. You're not going to get me cheap. And then he goes out and mashes and then gets hurt, comes back, and then he's slumping. I think he's just trying to press. I think the day off today probably helps. I know he played DH yesterday. Maybe just getting the mind off the field. Maybe takes a little bit of a time, but I'm not too worried. I kind of expected this, honestly. You miss an entire season, you come back, you miss time again with an injury. It's the fact that he came out hot to start. It's kind of impressive, really.
Yeah.
But I expected it. I think he'll pick up. I don't think it'll be too long. It might even be this week. He might have a 4-hit game in a game against the Cardinals. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I also like to point out that Jock Peterson went 0 for 41 to start the season, I believe. So, this is a streaky game. Sometimes playing for 6 months, you're going to have weeks that are terrible. You're going to have some weeks that look like Austin Hayes, or a Reese Hines type of week. So you kind of have to go through those peaks and valleys and hopefully find some consistency. I think the reason why it's concerning is because he has had injury issues in the past. I don't know if there's anything really clear that it could be that, but he started off well, and I think like your take is, he's probably the Reds' best hitter because he's got the least holes in his swing, and he kind of can hit for power, hit for average, find the gaps. You know what I mean? So it is concerning because you would want this guy to be giving your team a chance to win. You know what I mean? And I think he does that when he's playing his best, but he hasn't been at his best lately. Hopefully the rest will do him well, because the Reds got 7 games in 7 days this week, no off days, 4 games against Cardinals, 3 games against the Nats, all at home, luckily. So they're not necessarily going to be traveling anywhere. So there's that. There's a positive for that. But I don't know. Do you see him starting in the Cardinal series, or I don't know if we have the probables of who's starting yet. I think Martinez is first for the Reds, but I'm not sure what the Cardinals are throwing out there. You think he's playing against the Cardinals at all?
I think he will. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if he didn't start Monday, only because Espinal is such a good second baseman. You kind of, it's a good trade off. But then again, like you want him in the lineup because you want him consistent. Now, would you be surprised if you see a Monday morning IL stint? It's just you never know with baseball, sadly, and hopefully it's nothing more than just him pressing, and then a day off helps. So I guess we'll be on the lookout for that Monday. I'm really leaning towards it's just him pressing, and I think he'll be in the lineup.
Yeah, for sure. I think Greg, aka Reds Daily 4, had like an article talking about he was hitting the ball pretty well, just not hitting in the barrel and getting it to where the defense isn't. Basically, is I think the summation of his article. So there were some signs that Matt McLain's kind of still in there. He's just not necessarily getting the rub of the green, as they say. He's not having much luck. But yeah, I don't know. You're calling a IL stint for gastritis for McLain.
Man, I don't think he's Fart Newman level yet, but
okay, just checking, making sure some phantom headache, IL stint.
Too much Taco Bell over the weekend or something.
yeah, Colorado's got some interesting food out there, but yeah, it's an interesting situation. I'm not none too worried because luckily for the Reds, they've had some good performances this week, and a lot of those performances, I mean, I don't know about you, Ricky, I had a bunch of the Red Hot Red of the Week candidates for this week, and there's been a lot of guys that have been playing way above their average and getting the job done in different ways. And I don't know about you, but I actually wrote down a couple candidates just in case you had maybe possibly the same guy, but who's your Red Hot Red of the Week?
Oh, it's so hard not to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Noelvi Marte, baby.
Terry agrees with you.
Yes, 364 average to start the season. Over the last 7 games, he's batting 469. I love it. I kept all the receipts on Twitter, all the receipts on Facebook, every video that I posted about him, all the people saying he sucks. Yeah.
For all those uninitiated, Ricky has on his Twitter banner Noelvi Marte picture, and Kerry, like I said, agrees with you. He's been great. He's pairing him with like Hayes, how they've been hitting. My goodness, please, I want more of it. Want more of that for sure. They definitely been hitting the cover off the ball, and also like the advanced stats have been saying Marte's been hitting it hard, not just hitting it well.
He's hitting it hard and everywhere.
Yeah, so we'll take that every day of the week. He kind of got going in that Baltimore series. Obviously, he had that great Sunday, but you love to see it. Keep it going, kid. What is he, 22 years old?
22. I think he's about to turn 20. He just turned 23.
Just turned 23. You know what I mean? Right alongside just turned 23, Ellie De La Cruz. Why not? They both had a couple errors this, I think. Well, I don't know if it got called error. It got called a hit, I think, and ruined Lodola's no hit. But they had a couple of questionable throws, both of those guys. But both of them being 23, I don't know. Tell me other, top 23-year-olds out there that are there to carry the franchise. You know what I mean? Not too many out there in Major League Baseball, in my opinion. But yeah, great.
He got called up early too. Like in 2023, he wasn't really even projected to come up when he did. He was still projected to come up in 24. And the fact that he did what he did in 23, I was at the game where it was the Cubs where Martini tied the game with the 2-run homer, and then he came in and walked it off. And it was just, it felt like that was the moment where I was like, okay, he's here, he's good, like maybe he is ready. And then all of 2024 happened, and that was just, it happens. It happens to the best of them. Look at Fernando Tatis. He got popped, and look what he's doing. He's fine. So I'm not worried about it. He's 23 years old. If he was 28 and doing this crap, if he was like, who's the guy from Atlanta just got popped? We were rumored to get him.
Profar,
yeah. if he was his age, like I'd be like, okay, get this guy off my team. But you know, there's a lot of things. I don't think it's strictly the player in a lot of those situations with PEDs. I think you have trainers. I mean, obviously there's guidelines. You need to be smart about it. But I don't know. I don't think it was all his fault. And 2024, like playing wise, it was just he wasn't confident. He looks like a totally different guy.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a pro Marte show. There's a lot of stuff going on with Atlanta Braves. It's not an Atlanta Braves show, but good golly, there's a lot of internal issues and external issues that are coming out in the field. I think Spencer Strider's hurt again. Anyway, not a Brave show. Not a Brave show. I had a feel you pick Marte, so I had to make sure that I picked some other guys. So I went with new dad strength, new dad Nick Lodolo. Had two pretty decent outings today, especially the most. But he had a 1-1 record. Unfortunately, got the loss in the opener of the Marlins game series at the beginning of the week. And he went 12 and 2/3 innings, 3 earned runs, 13 Ks. Has plus one new kid, so he's got that going, which means he's got that dad strength going as well. For the season, the opponent batting average against Nick Lodolo, you want to know what it is? Can you guess?
I'm not sure.
197. Opponents are hitting 197 against him, and he's got a .86 whip. Like they were talking about. I was listening to radio, Tommy Thrall and the Cowboy, and they were talking about the 1-2, like between Hunter Green and then Lodolo being the top of their rotation. Maybe some of the best right now in Major League Baseball. I'm trying to think of any others because there'll always be Skeens and Keller, but like Keller, I don't think has the stuff that Lodolo has. I'm trying to think of some other guys, but Spencer Strider's hurt down there in Atlanta, and he's usually a pretty good player. I guess Chris Sale up there with that, but anyway, not a Brave show. Well, yeah, they don't count. Anyway, they got too many arms out there, and they're all Japanese superstars. And although Skeens beat the Dodgers, you saw that on Friday or Saturday. So, the Pirates got their one win of the week, I think. But, my guy's Nick Lodolo. He's been pitching great. Definitely, I mean, if we're like doing early predictions, which we may do later, like, I don't know. I see Ellie, Hunter, Lodolo, all-stars right now. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to think maybe a fourth guy. Maybe Marte if he keeps going. Austin Hayes maybe if he keeps going. You know what I mean? So, like, maybe we'll, start throwing out there some do they even bet on that? Is like if
I don't think so.
No free ads on a betting site, but do they do like futures on like who's going to make an all-star game?
I have yet to see any.
I guess because it's controlled by like fan vote, you don't really want to bet on fan votes.
Right. I guess I'll throw out some honorable mentions for Red of the Week. Gavin Lux batting .440 over his last 7 games. Both him and Ellie both have 11-game hit streaks. You love to see it. You love to see it, especially if their averages start to climb. Lux had that home run. What was that in Baltimore last week?
Mm-hmm.
Get him going. Yeah, and Hayes just keeping it going. I'm not gonna get too excited. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
If they keep it going this week, I think I'll believe more and more. Like it's kind of a feeling out process in terms of that, because you know what I mean. The Reds can turn hot to cold, cold to hot pretty quickly from week to week. And what was it? Just a couple weeks ago, they were 2-5 one week, and the following week they went 4-2 and 3-3, and now back to 4-2. So, I like to think they're going to take care of business against the Cardinals because it'll be at home, Great American Ballpark. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for a 4-game stand, and then unfortunately those pesky Nationals coming in. But coming up, they got their first fireworks Friday with the black uniforms, the City Connects. So that should be a good time to get out to the ballpark. Show hopefully good weather too on May 2nd, Friday, May 2nd. And I want to say they're doing like a Star Wars thing the next night on the 3rd.
Yeah, I think Friday night they're doing the Minecraft movie jerseys in the fan zone. They're doing some. I think you get the Minecraft movie ticket, and then in the fan zone you get the jersey.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And then come out and hopefully see some Redlegs wins. Hopefully, at the very least, that's the main attraction. It's no longer. I like to think that the Reds are no longer just there for the bobblehead giveaways and the special nights. Now we're gonna actually get W's going along with all your special ticket packages and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Can't say that about me.
I'll add this too. I was thinking just last year when Ellie was struggling in early to mid-April, there was kind of a movement to like get him going with the fans, like standing ovation, super cheers, get the Ellie chant going. I think we need to do that with Matt McLain all week. Just maybe show him we're here for him, Just get the Ellie or the Ellie vibes for Maddie McLain.
Yeah, for sure. That would definitely show the Reds community in a positive light, and hopefully some ovation. I don't know if the Walt Jocketty family even attend the games or not, but hopefully they'll be at least there in spirit to feel the love from the Reds organization. Unfortunately, though, there are some people that are not in Matt McLain's corner, and they are known as Reds Facebook. And they did not have some nice things to say about Matt McLain this week, and just in general, the Reds organization or the Reds in general. So the Reds Facebook had a interesting comment that actually our good friend of the show, Greg Kuffner, aka Reds Daily 4, pointed out, and I think it was after a Miami Marlins loss. So
yeah,
it makes sense why that the comments go super negative after any loss, especially against a Marlins team. And I think I texted you during the week. The stat of the week or stat of the day was that the Miami Marlins total payroll is $46 million for all their players, which is $3 million more than what the Mets are paying Juan Soto every single year.
Of course.
So baseball, right? You can't necessarily win them all, but sometimes if you have expensive enough players, you have a good chance of winning. But to credit, the Marlins, with some guys that I've never heard of, took 2 out of 3 from the Reds and whatnot. But if you have that Reds Facebook comment of the week, let's see what they got for us today.
Yeah, this guy says, man, I just joined this group recently as a Reds fan, not knowing this group actually hates the Reds. And that is the epitome of Reds Facebook. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, the self-awareness, I guess, is interesting because usually when these people get into the Facebook group chats and whatever you call it, the groups, they start to echo exactly and double down on the negativity and whatnot. At least this guy's like, whoa, what is going on here? Because
right, yeah.
Because he's probably looking around like, what is this? I can't imagine what comments were above that after a Marlins loss. It probably was not too positive, to say the least. So, yeah, pretty tame, I guess, in terms of our Facebook comment of the week. But it just
I had a couple that I was thinking about it, but I didn't want to give them that. It was too extreme to give them spotlight.
Yeah, I don't know. I always say that baseball's tough, man. It's you lose at least 60 games a season, and you win at least 60 games a season, and you got to figure out what you do with the remaining. What is that? Remaining 40. That's what a lot of people say. And then I follow Chad Dotson, noted Reds fan. Riverfront wrote a bunch of Reds books and stuff like that, and he said in one of his pieces this week that we have a lot of tools for guessing how baseball might go, but then baseball has even more ways of subverting our perfectly well-founded guesses.
Yeah.
Which is to say that baseball is one of the most predictable sports because we have all these numbers. It's basically like a numbers, really, with the analytics and, the baseball perspective, Bill James, all that stuff, Moneyball, a lot of numbers go into baseball, but it ends up just laughing in your face when something goes completely different than what you expected, and you just have to just sit back and go, it's just baseball. That's how it is, But yeah. Any other thoughts on Reds Facebook or any other comments you saw throughout the week?
Be on the lookout for next week's.
Yeah. I don't know. Are Cardinals fans toxic? I know they have a pretty nice following, and a lot of people are kind of annoyed with their fan base. They get annoyed with the Cubs fan base because they kind of infiltrate Great American Ballpark. But are they generally a toxic franchise from your understanding?
I just know they hate the Reds, and we hate them too.
All right. Yeah. The Yadier Molina situation probably comes to the forefront.
Yeah, Brandon
Anytime the Reds
Phillips
show
with
up.
his comments during that year. That was a
Yes.
good brawl.
Yeah, so we'll see how that all goes down. Great American Ballpark this week, starting tomorrow. But before we do that, we like to cover the minor leagues and try to highlight three guys that have been doing great, and three guys that have been doing not so great for the minors. And Ricky, I think I also texted you about there was a bunch of candidates for guys that were doing well this week, which is I think a great thing. You don't necessarily obviously like it when there's a lot of guys struggling, but we want to make sure that these guys are hopefully just having one bad week and the next week they can kind of get it right or fix it and get it going. But the three guys that we got that were doing well this week, we had one of our top prospects, Mr. Chase Petty in AAA, had a really good outing. 6 innings, 7 strikeouts on 1 hit, no earned runs, which is great to see because, like you've said before and we've said before, he might be a 2025 guy. He might be up sooner than later. And if he's pitching like that, yeah, for sure. Another guy that did really well this week, Double-A guy, Hector Rodriguez, just smashing the ball.
Yeah.
Smashing. He had his first 2 home runs of the season, went 12 for 23 with 4 RBIs. You love to see it. Hits from the left side, outfielder. You know what I mean? And he led off the game, too. I think he's their leadoff guy for the Chattanooga Lookouts. So, love to see it, especially because, Mr. Clay Snowden's not great on our outfield depth. But if you got Hector Rodriguez, coming through the ranks, hey, let's go. Let's do it, And the other guy, another outfielder, Dayton Dragon, Mr. Carlos Jorge. And he went 9 for 23 this week with a double, a triple, 2 RBIs. And he was, I think, one of our weeks, he was on the 3 down. So he's kind of worked his way back. He's kind of getting back into a groove. He's got his average back up to 260, a respectable 260. So, just because, like we said, there's some guys that get some 3 down for us. Hopefully we'll see them back on this list and start raking like Mr. Rodriguez and hopefully like Mr. Jorge will do, going forward. And, yeah, you love to see it. Any thoughts on these 3 guys that did well this week?
Yeah, Petty looks really good. I don't think it's going to be too long and he'll be up. It's just if Martinez is going to keep struggling and he's going to keep doing well, yeah, he's 0-2. Yeah, 3.52 ERA. He looks good with that. 27 strikeouts. I think his walks are down too. He's not walking a lot of guys.
Oh, that's good.
Let's see. He actually has 9 walks all year. So that's 27 strikeouts, 9 walks. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Hector Rodriguez, could you see him making a jump? Because he's hit at every level. And he's consistent. I think I saw he's got a higher chase rate, but he has a really high contact percentage too. So you take it. But what do you think? Who's your I guess one of 3 you want to really highlight?
Yeah, I really like how Rodriguez has been hitting his first 2 home runs of the year. I think he kind of had a fair to decent start the year, but this week really just smacked the heck. I think he had 2 games where he had at least 3 hits. So he's really on this week. I think I really like it that because they're outfielders, Hector Rodriguez and Carlos Jorge. That's kind of like the thing, and just trying to get outfield depth because we know that unfortunately the Will Benson situation is not working out the way we thought. We're thankful for everything Gavin Lux does for us, but he's not necessarily the corner outfielder we all envision putting out there in the outfield. You know what I mean? And you never know with Friedel. Sometimes he hopefully is going to stay healthy throughout this whole season, but you never know. We might need that outfield depth sooner than later. And Reese Hines has been okay. He's been cooling off a little bit, but nothing like he started off the season. Like he started off the season really well at AAA. Reese Hines, and it's kind of slowed down a little bit, but I don't know. There's a lot of guys that hopefully can build on these successes and keep it going. But yeah, I don't know. I think Rodriguez would be my guy that I really liked to see his output this week.
Yeah, and I got an honorable mention.
Who is it? Oh yeah,
Chase Burns.
The legend himself. Yeah. He had a great outing. What was the numbers on him? I just had it up here. He
4
didn't.
innings.
Yeah.
What was it? 4 innings, like 6 Ks.
Yeah.
He looked,
All zero earned runs. Like he threw, like there was a stat out there I saw. He threw over 100 miles an hour like 5 times in like the first 3 innings. So like he was hitting his numbers, to say the least. He was getting after it, Chattanooga, and yeah, he only went to 4 innings. I think they're protecting him because, you know what I mean, he's a highly rated prospect. They don't want to burn him out too quickly. And I know you were putting out there how many over-under starts, 3.5 over-under for Mr. Burns to do at Chattanooga before he gets promoted. And I don't know. I think he might need to marinate a little bit there, a little bit more, because, I mean, there's a lot of guys that are pitching well. I mean, just another honorable mention, a guy that I mentioned to you during the week, Mr. Jose Acuna, a highly rated prospect. Just today, went 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, like, and his 2.25 season ERA for AA. You know what I mean? There might be a logjam trying to get into AAA. So I don't know if Burns is going to be getting up there soon. Obviously, if injuries happen or, you know, guys are not performing, kind of, you know, go to the wayside, there may be opportunities for Chase Burns and Acuna. But yeah, right now, I don't know. It seems like we have a good problem of having a tremendous amount of arms. And Luis May had a good outing today. I think he went 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. You know, 2 out of the 3 guys he struck out. And yeah, 9 out of the 12 pitches were strikes. So his control is back for now. Hopefully he has another good week under his belt as well, because, you know, we keep calling him, and you call him the closer of the future. And I think Maxwell actually got the save today, but he gave up an earned run. So, you know what I mean? If both those guys, iron sharpens iron, if they keep working at their craft, those 2 guys might be up sooner than later as well. So,
yeah.
But yeah, any other thoughts on those?
No.
So now we unfortunately got to highlight the 3 guys that didn't do so well this week. And, you know, we talked about him a lot already, but Stevenson had his rehab assignment. He went 3 for 17. Today he had his best day, though. Like, he had his home run. He had a home run, and he threw out a guy playing catcher. So he's looking a little bit more like himself. Hopefully that continues, and probably why he kind of asked for, you know, basically to stay with AAA. To kind of keep working at it, because he might be feeling he's getting in a groove down there with the Louisville Bats. But, yeah, 178 or 176 batting average, not necessarily earth-shattering for a guy that, you know, obviously we know can hit much better than that, even at the major league level. So hopefully this is just, you know, getting right after the injury, you know, his rehab stint. AA, Jay Allen, I feel like this is the second time he's made this list, and he's struggling. 2 for 15 this week, 4 strikeouts, hitting 156 on the year. Really loved him at Dayton. I saw him a couple times there, and he looked like a great, you know, looking prospect. He was like 20 years old last year, so I think he's 21 this year. I still got some time, I think, to figure it out, but at the moment he's struggling and not necessarily looking good. And another guy that's struggling as well is Wade Miley. His first outing, I think Tuesday. They threw him out there in Dayton on Tuesday. He only went 2 innings, 2 1/3 innings, 6 earned runs. And then today had even I don't know if you can say setback. They explained it that he had a lower body injury, which is different from the elbow surgery that he had before. So the injury was not associated to what he had before, his previous injury, is what Jim Day was talking about. But today he only went 10 pitches and had to come out the game due to injury. And he's just not looking great right at the moment. I mean, gosh, you look at that picture, he looks like he's 48 years old, you know, like going out there just trying to still see if he can, you know, bring all the heat back into that arm to get it done one last time. But not necessarily the best week for Mr. Wiley. Just 3 years ago had a no-hitter for the Reds, I want to say, 2022. So we know he can do the job. It's just how many times can he do it anymore, since he's, you know, on the other side of 30 and coming back from injury. You know, it's not ideal to say the least. So any thoughts on these 3 guys for this week?
Yeah, I was seeing people talking about the qualifying offer for Austin Hayes, and Jay Allen was the comp pick for the qualifying offer on Trevor Bauer in 2020 for the 2021 draft. But then you look at Sal Stewart was the comp pick for the Nick Castellanos contract that we qualifying offered. You got it. It's the draft in baseball is so hard. I think Mike Trout went in the high 20s, didn't he? He was a later round pick in the first round.
Yeah.
And Joey Votto was a second round pick. And it's just it's so hard to, like, the NFL, like, you kind of know, like, speaking of the NFL, just had their draft. You kind of know who you got. And the biggest problems with the NFL draft is mostly character concerns and then work ethic. And then obviously like injuries and stuff too. But like you genuinely know who you're drafting. But with the MLB, like with baseball, you're drafting guys from Puerto Rico, you're drafting guys that out of high school, and you're really drafting to what you think they can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, you do that with the NFL, but like you see who they are mostly when they're coming out. The Reds drafted a guy 2 years ago, Sammy Stafora, out of New Jersey, and it's just very uncommon for guys to get drafted early out of the Northeast. Like I think the last one to get drafted in that high was Mike Trout. It's just not common, but. Like Stafura's performing, and you just you don't know who you have until you get him in your system. But then, like, I don't know, it's just baseball's such a weird sport when it comes to projecting talent.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. There's a bunch of guys. There's all down the list. I want to say because I'm a reformed White Sox fan. I want to say that Mark Burley was drafted in the 46th round out of community college out of Missouri. Like, there's just some guys that. You just never know, and it'll be interesting. I think we kind of discussed possibly having a MLB draft. I think we might just want to cover maybe the first round instead of maybe all the way down to 20, 30. I don't even how many even they do anymore. I think they might have tightened it up, but yeah, the baseball draft it's very complicated to say the least compared to some other drafts. But I don't know.
I think we would just go live when it's like one pick away and then talk about the Reds pick for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, and we've been making a joke. We gotta keep watching Wake Forest baseball to see who's throwing for them because we've drafted 2 straight Wake Forest guys, and you never know. They might find a pipeline that way.
It's working.
So far, so good. Yeah, so far, so good. So we can't complain. But yeah, any other thoughts about these guys or anything else?
No, I just hope, just for Wade Miley's sake, he can get healthy and at least play. It's almost like the movie The Rookie, where he's like the old guy coming back, playing through the low levels, and then has a setback. And Stevenson, Stevenson just needs more time. And I'm glad that he recognized that too, and doesn't say, "Oh, I'm a big leaguer, I'm going to come up." And he's at least aware enough to know that he's not ready. And maybe I don't know what word I want to use. He's aware enough to know, and still can't get the word. Humble enough. There we go. He's humble enough to know the team isn't desperate to have him back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think past Reds teams might have rushed him back because they just need a proven major leaguer up. You know what I mean? Because past Reds teams would be fielding sometimes minor leaguers that just aren't getting the job done, but they just need a warm body. They need somebody up there. But if this was like 2021 Reds or 2019 Reds, they might have rushed Stevenson back, or a Stevenson type of player back.
Dilson Herrera.
Yeah. You just
name another one. Who was the Robinson? Chucky Robinson as catcher a couple years ago.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
who else? There's another one. He was an outfield. Philip Irvin. We had some guys that.
Bubba Thompson?
Bubba Thompson last year on the opening day roster.
Yeah, Bubba Thompson's kind of like in that category, I think. But anyway, the point being is that I think we've got enough major leaguers to be competitive every day. Even if there is some questionable decisions with the lineup, with some guys that have longer ropes, you'd like to think that they're gonna come good sooner than later. Spencer Steer is in that category. I don't know if we're gonna get there with Jeimer Candelario. I know we were gonna talk about him more. I feel like we get more frustrated the more we talk about Jeimer, but him being kind of sat a couple times in the Marlins series, I think he sat today, I want to say, or it was Saturday. He's been sitting a lot and not necessarily been an everyday guy like they thought he would be. And we joke about how he's in the best shape of his life, but not necessarily true. Talk about shutting down a narrative that definitely got shut down quickly because people saw through that right away. But at the same time, May's coming, so maybe that's going to be candy time when maybe someone else starts struggling and he gets his opportunity to make good. But I don't know. What are you seeing this coming week? We talked about the Cardinals and Nats a bit, but any other thoughts about the upcoming week?
I think we're avoiding the Cardinals aces, right? If I believe right.
I don't know if they put out their guys as of yet. I was listening to Reds again just today and driving around town, but they said that they didn't have the guys the probables as of yet. I thought I saw at least on Monday's game Palante, Mikolas. Isn't that one of their better pitchers?
I think so.
He's going up against Singer on Tuesday, which should be a really good game. 3-2-1 Tuesday.
We got Palante versus Martinez tomorrow. Martinez is 0-3 with a 5.40 ERA. Palante is 2-1 with a 4.05 ERA.
Yeah, and then you got Mikolas versus Singer, and then you got Matz versus Abbott on the Wednesday game. And then, this should be an easy W because we got Green on the getaway day, May 1st at 12:40, first pitch against a guy named Liberatore. I'm not, too big on the Cardinals, but I could definitely see them dropping that Monday game because they're coming off this 4-game winning streak, and then they're going to run into, maybe some issues with Martinez not necessarily getting it done, getting over on them, turning out innings. But who knows? I think, 3 out of 4 would be awesome. 2 out of 2 should be okay. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Predictions of the week.
Predictions. I'm gonna say we're gonna go 4-3. We're gonna go. I don't know. Hopefully, we get at least 2 with the Cardinals, and then get at least 2 out of Washington.
Yeah, you'd like to beat. Just personally, because I've seen the Nationals just sweep the Reds. I think they swept them. In a series in 2024 as well, in a kind of pivotal staying in contention series. And I don't know, those Nationals, man. I think they are in a pretty tough division, so they're never necessarily in contention with the Mets and the Braves and the Phillies, but they are kind of a pest. So if they get 2 out of 3, I'll be definitely happy with that as well.
Their Twitter page has been crushing it lately. I will say that. Let me I'm gonna find this tweet they had. It was awesome. I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
Man.
I will say as well, I was really a big fan of their City Connects, the cherry blossom ones. They're really cool for their jerseys. Oh no, what is this?
They're down 7-1. Use the LeBron meme.
Yeah, they've won a World Series in the last 6 years, so they can be the meme lords of baseball.
They earned it. That was great. That was a great meme. Their social media's crushing it.
I've seen that LeBron thing everywhere. It's going to be out there.
It's great. The flop.
The flop. Yeah. Well, they're down 3-1, so it's best to get not flopping anymore. But anyway, that's not an NBA show.
NBA show.
Not an NBA show. But anyway, any other thoughts going forward? Anything? Are you going to be on Chatterbox pregame this week at all?
Yeah, I'm going to be on there Monday and Friday.
Oh man, double duty. Monday.
Double duty.
Hopefully you can get them some runs because they usually score a bunch of runs when you get pregame. So
yeah, I will say we are 3-1 with them when we're on the call. So
hey, analytics.
I usually have if anybody does watch, I usually have my keys to the game is usually an obscure Candelario bet, and I didn't have one this Friday, but my Steer one hit. So
hey,
Steer RBI was a Steer 3-run homer.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, keep that going. How about that? You're probably way better than the FanDuel, whatever their parlay bet is at this point.
Well, they're just as good as the Rockies. So
yeah, gosh, there's some teams that are worse than the White Sox. I can't believe that. But that's for another day.
Yeah, and this is totally off, but like doing my notes for the Rockies series, I saw where the Rockies have lost 100 games 2 years in a row, and they're projected to lose 105 this year. Up until 2023, they had never lost 100 games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they're a pretty young franchise.
They are.
30 years old.
They're going through it, and they play in the worst possible division to play in with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, with Suarez hitting 4 home runs last night. And
shout out to you.
Yeah, missed that guy a lot. We'd love to have him over Candelario.
Maybe deadline deal if the Diamondbacks are out of contention because the Giants are now good for some reason. They're like walking off everybody every other day, you know. But,
Logan Webb's so good.
Yeah, and hopefully the Dodgers will get upset so that we won't have a back-to-back or a three-peat or whatever they're on.
Yeah. Just for baseball's sake, I don't want to see them keep winning.
Yeah, or the Yankees. Or anybody else from the
anybody but the Reds, man. We want the Reds to win it.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else, Rick?
No, that's it. It's just let's hope for another good week.
Yeah, check out Ricky tomorrow. Pregame show. It'll be at 5:30, I'm guessing, because it's 6:40 first pitch.
Yep, I think 5:30, yeah.
All right. As always, go Reds.
Go Reds.
We're the Reds.